Hey guys, welcome back to another Warframe video and continuing our series with lore behind the frames. Today let's cover Nyx. So by now I'm pretty sure that you're aware that a lot of the Warframes are based on legendary things like weapons, iconic figures, to even gods themselves. So then begs the question, what the heck is Nyx? And even though I feel like in Warframe Nyx is a very overlooked Warframe, in mythology she is on a different level. For instance, the gods you may know from the Greek pantheon like Zeus and stuff like that, those guys are like third tier generation. While Nyx on the other hand is either the original creator, the original being that created the other ones if you're considering her chaos, or if you're not going by that version, she is the prodigy of chaos and one of the original primordial ones. An odd thing to note here is, unlike the gods that come later, like in Zeus's tier and below, where they kind of like occupy space and time and rule over certain things, the primordial ones, sure, they were beings themselves that had a physical form, but they were also at the same time a manifestation of the universe, or more like the universe and everything we know in it is more of a manifestation of them, and without them themselves we would have nothing. There would be nothing. There aren't many stories with Nyx. In fact, she's only mentioned just a handful of times, and that's just like quickly noted, perhaps because this is an age before man. Like, even, you know, the notable gods that most people iconically know aren't even born yet, for crying out loud. And these primordial ones, they didn't care about keeping notes, you know. But the point is, she's not in many stories. The only thing you have is like it being noted that like Zeus doesn't want to take her on. He doesn't want to even try to attempt to fight her or conquer her or even confront her. Is the moment she's like involved, he's like, never mind. And you could take that as whatever as whatever meaning you want. Like, scholars have debated this for a long time. Was she stronger than Zeus, or did Zeus just not want to deal with this whole situation? It doesn't matter. The point is, he didn't ever want to confront her for whatever reason that is. If, however, you want my personal opinion, yes, I think he was terrified of her, because if you look at the stories, Zeus himself needed everyone to like bow to him or basically be destroyed, you know, convert or fall forever kind of mentality. And he had to seek his wrath and punishment on basically anyone that even raised an eyebrow at him, pretty much, right? And he basically just ran amok doing whatever the fuck he wanted without fear of consequence from anyone, because who could dare stand against him? So he would just do whatever the fuck he wanted all the time. The point is, in one of the stories, someone wronged him, and it was one of the children of Nyx, and he was chasing him down to basically try to punish him, to seek his wrath on him. It was like, how dare you do this to me, kind of thing. And he was furious. But the point is, he was chasing him down, and then he ran into where Nyx was, a cave where Nyx was, and then that's it. Zeus's his anger was diminished. He was like, you know what, never mind. Oh, you went into Nyx's cave over there where she's, you know what, forget it. It's okay. That's not how he's like, right? There's nothing that would stand in his way. There's nothing that would stop him. He's fury and ferocity and vengeance. For him to just instantly be quelled just at the thought that Nyx is involved with this, that's showing me that like he is either terrified because he knows he's gonna lose, or he thinks he can possibly lose and he doesn't even want to risk it. So he's just like, yeah, never mind. Yeah, I hear my mom calling. So all that being said, you still may not actually understand what Nyx is. So what is she exactly? Well, she's a woman. She's supposed to be a very beautiful woman. She's also the night itself, literally. She's either the original first being, or she's one of the first 5 primordial ones, one of the first 5 beings in existence. She also birthed many of the forces that gave shape to the universe, as well as is integral to reality as we know it itself. But there's a little bit more to her, because in the game Dark Sectors, which DE made before Warframe, and they kind of took some concepts from Dark Sectors and put it in Warframe. In fact, I would go as far to say as Warframe is Dark Sectors, just repolished. Like, they came at it with new ideas and they made it better. They added more depth to it and stuff like that. So I'm not implying that Dark Sectors is part 1. I'm just saying, like, Dark Sectors was the original Warframe until it got remodeled. But my point is, Nyx was in there. So what was Nyx like in that game? So in the game, you basically play as Excalibur, you know, Dark Sector's version of Excalibur, which is Hayden. And your enemy counterpart, your nemesis, the big bad guy, is Nyx. She's your foe. So what basically happens is the Warframe virus, those nanos that make you into a Warframe, they exist in Dark Sectors. And you get infected with it. And you're one of the few people that it doesn't affect negatively. Nyx was before you. Like, she is perfection. She's like the best outcome that the virus could have on people. And you're basically following her footsteps, you know, accidentally. So she's already more advanced than you, because she's already harnessing all of the Warframe abilities while you're just starting out. The virus does affect people differently. You do get different abilities and different adaptations and stuff. For instance, you, the main character in Dark Sectors, have a glaive that is part of your body. Even when it's not attached to you, you can still control it because it's still a part of you. Nyx, however, in Dark Sectors had, like, her left arm was like a javelin kind of thing, and she could throw it, disattach it from herself and throw it whenever she wanted. As well as one of her abilities, she had like a big old tower shield in her other hand, kind of like Volt's energy shield thing, kind of like that. In Dark Sector, she also had the ability to use electricity, but I personally think that that's just like your buff. Like, in the game, you could interact with certain things like fire or ice or electricity and stuff like this, and then infuse yourself for a certain amount of time. I honestly think that that's what she was doing, but I could be wrong. Maybe she's just naturally electrified. Some other things to note really quick is she had telekinetic abilities. One other thing to note really quick is in Dark Sector, she was known as Nemesis, and in Greek mythology, Nemesis is one of the daughters of Nyx, and is supposed to be the embodiment of retribution. Alright, let's move on to her frame now. This may be difficult. I never come pre-prepared. I just wing it. Let's see. Okay, so her passive, you get 20% less accuracy when targeting Nyx. It makes sense with mythology and even with Dark Sectors, because in Dark Sectors she kind of had telekinesis and could stop your bullets or change their trajectory, so that makes sense. But as for the primordial Nyx, she is night itself, so she could make things as dark as she wants, and you wouldn't be able to distinguish friend from foe. In fact, you wouldn't even know where your friends are because you can't see anything. So being less accurate, absolutely. Alright, her first ability is going to be a tricky one, mind control. Could Nyx in mythology control the minds of others? I'm not sure. Not many people spoke of Nyx in stories. I think it's because she was associated with death and they thought she was real, so they didn't want to like provoke her in any way at all. Like, this is how they deal with a lot of the gods they see as negative or can cause their death, so they just like avoid speaking about them in case they speak illy by mistake and then kill themselves because of that. But there's a lot of things that they imply about her, but I'm kind of like, this is not, is this canon? I don't know. For instance, they say that she has to deal with sleep and death as well, but that's not her thing. She causes it, but it's not directly hers. Like, for instance, she has children of death and sleep and retribution and dreams and doom and blame and all kind of stuff. So she could, I guess. Primordial ones, I think they have more power than we think. They might even have some of the powers of their children. So perhaps. However, I don't know for sure. In fact, If I was the one making Nyx in Warframe, I would not have put this move because I would be too unsure if she can actually control the minds of others. But if she can have the abilities of her children, which some cases do imply, then it would be like, well, she can have strife and deceits and distress and death and blame and retribution. I guess all that combined would muddle your mind and confuse you enough to attacking one another, kind of like similar to like how Mafala was from like Elder Scrolls. This is the feeling I get from Nyx, but is she exactly like this? I'm not sure, but this is kind of like what some versions imply. Her next ability, Psychic Bolts, for her Dark Sector's counterpart, I would say yeah, because she kind of has telekinesis. But for mythology, I would say yes as well. I imagine every single god would be able to do telekinesis, because that's a thing that even like if you theoretically study enough witchcraft and have enough spirituality, you would be able to do that stuff, theoretically. So wouldn't a god be able to do that on a higher level if a human could do it, for crying out loud? So I would say yes to this move too. Her third ability, Chaos, which is you throw a blast at your enemies and confuse them. It's just like the first ability that causes confusion. If she has the ability of her children, then I would say I guess she can do it, but it's not directly stated that she has this ability in mythology. Her fourth ability, the Absorb, it's kind of like the telekinesis again. I guess it's kind of like Dark Sectors, but not truly. Like if I was in control of redoing Nyx, I would do her completely different. For instance, if I was trying to make her like the Dark Sectors version, I would give her more Dark Sector stuff. I would give her like Volt Shield, but that she can carry on herself. I would give her the ability to throw her arm like she used to do in Dark Sectors. But if I'm trying to make her like she's supposed to be in mythology, then she would be completely different. I would try to keep her true and blue to how she originally was in Warframe, but I would alter things. Like for instance, you want her to have some kind of mind controlling effects. The point being that you want your opponents to attack each other. Okay, well, play along with what Nyx actually is. She is night itself. So why not have it that she causes a massive EMP blackout? Like not only are all electrical components of lights and guns and lasers now turned off, but also that the light in the sky itself is off. Everything's dark, they can't see. Maybe you have some kind of night vision, but everyone else can't see. So if a Grineer hears another Grineer walking around, they're gonna shoot at that Grineer because they are scared and they're gonna think it's their enemy, so they're gonna open fire. And since that one guy opened fire, everybody else is gonna open fire on him. And then you open fire and this person, everyone's gonna start shooting at each other. The more noise they make, the more they open fire on each other. That's how I would do that mind control aspect to it. If I was expected to keep mind control and alter it in some way, that's how I would do it. However, if I had complete reins over doing her however I want, then I would technically make her more like Los Sombras from Vampire the Masquerade, which is they control shadows. So like I said with the whole night thing, yeah, you could black out everything and you could like, they can't even see the moonlight and stuff like that. Yes, but also that you yourself are darkness. Like if I dip into a shadow, I can now, you can't shoot me. Like I'm not even there anymore. I dipped into that corner where there was a shadow and now I'm in a completely different room where there's another shadow. Like you can just swim in the shadows and that's it. You are one with the shadow. You can be anywhere. You can disappear like Los Sombras from Vampire the Masquerade. It's the best way I can describe it without going really deep into explaining how they work. But basically they are the shadow. And that's how Nyx would be. So I think she would be better to have been like that rather than like this. This is like, I don't know what Warframe is doing on this one, honestly. I think because it was one of their earlier frames, it's not so fleshed out. Sorry to say. But what do you guys think? Do I think too deeply about this and it's just the name and it shouldn't have any correlations with mythology? Is that what you think? Or from my point of view, they shouldn't name something what it is unless you're gonna have some similarities. That's just my point. But anyway, that's all I got for now, guys. Thanks for watching and I hope to see you next time.